in there. I mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Inside handoff. This is Travis Etienne. 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Along the right sideline. Touchdown. Travis Etienne, a 28-yard touchdown run, and Jacksonville has extended the lead.
Frank Frangie on the call. Jaguars radio yesterday afternoon. The Jacksonville Jaguars absolutely destroy the Indianapolis Colts 36-19. Although, quite frankly, it could have been a lot worse than that. The Jaguars now 9-4 on the year, and they are in first place all by themselves in the AFC South. And with that, a very good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on a Monday that does find the Jaguars all alone atop the AFC South. They have now won 4 games in a row. They have won 5 out of their last 6. And I got to tell you something. Now it's getting very close to the point of being about playoff positioning. It is starting to be hard to imagine a scenario where the Jaguars do not at least make the NFL postseason. It would take a huge collapse, and even at that point, it would still take other teams doing stuff down the stretch. I think I saw one thing where the Jaguars now have like a 95% chance of at least making the playoffs with the way it is all shaken out in the AFC, and certainly they have much more ambitions than that, leading the AFC South right now by a game over Houston, and for that matter, Indianapolis. But boy, what a horrible, horrible disaster yesterday was for the Indianapolis Colts. Not only do they lose again here in Jacksonville, they still have not won here since September of 2014, but they lose Daniel Jones in the process to a torn Achilles. Riley Leonard comes in, admirably plays, well for what you would expect a rookie under those circumstances to play like. Come to find out, he got a little banged up. So now Indianapolis is flying in 44-year-old Phillip Rivers for a workout tomorrow. That is how dire it is up there with the Colts. And keep in mind, the Jaguars will play Indianapolis again in less than 3 weeks' time. So we're going to spend a ton of time on the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight, looking back on the win over Indianapolis, looking big picture at the AFC playoffs. There are some AFC playoff implications tonight. The Chargers are at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. You want Philadelphia to win. Hopefully Jacksonville's not really competing with the Chargers, because hopefully the Jaguars win the division. But if it does come down to a wild card situation, the Jaguars already have the tiebreaker, and you would love for the Chargers to have another loss put on them tonight. So if you're a Jaguar fan, you're probably rooting for Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll look at the big picture in the AFC playoffs. We'll spend a lot of time on Jacksonville as well. And we will talk a little bit about the college football playoff. Miami is in. Notre Dame is out. The fallout for the 12-team playoff, including new Florida Gator head coach John Sumrall, who has his Tulane team in the college football playoff. They will head to Oxford to play Ole Miss in round number 1. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Steve Palazzolo is one of the hosts of the Check the Mic podcast. Love having Steve Palazzolo on. If you never watched that podcast with he along with Sam Monson, they do a terrific job. We'll have Steve on Hacker After Dark tonight to talk about the Jaguars' win yesterday, look big picture on the job Liam Cohen has done here in year number 1, as well as look at the AFC playoff picture. So Steve Palazzolo of the Check the Mic podcast joins us in about 25 minutes or so. Also, my buddy Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4 will stop by again to look back on yesterday and take a look briefly at the New York Football Jets, who are coming to Everbank Stadium this Sunday at 1 o'clock. I will say this, Denmark, and you don't even know this. So yesterday, I would have bet my life savings on the Indianapolis Colts prior to 1 o'clock. I'm happy I didn't. I wake up yesterday morning to my car not starting, right? Car didn't start. I'm in the driveway, absolutely nothing. Luckily, I had AAA. They come out, they test the battery. The battery's fine, the starter's fine, but the car still wouldn't start. So then I had to call a tow company. So I had to have AAA come and tow my car out of Mandarin over to the Avenues area. So that's how my Jaguar game day started. Then at about 12:45, 15 minutes prior to kickoff, as you all know, I'm a diehard Orlando Magic fan, and Franz Wagner goes down with what looked at the time to be a pretty significant knee injury. So it was at that point where I started having a conversation with the powers that be, saying, what did I do to deserve this? My car is dead. Orlando, I thought, just lost Franz Wagner for the year. I was positive that the way my day was going, the Jaguars were going to lay an egg and lose to the Indianapolis Colts. But amazingly, Jacksonville beats Indianapolis. Denmark, I already got my car back, working fine, and got charged very little for it. And come to find out, Franz Wagner does not have a knee injury. It's just a high ankle sprain. He'll be out 2 to 4 weeks. So even though I thought the sky was falling on me about 31 hours ago, I have come out clean on the other side. The Jaguars are in first place. Wagner's not out for the year. And I have a 2011 Honda Fit that still runs and gets me from point A to point B. With that as a backdrop, every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
You know, for years, I've come on this radio station, or even past radio stations, and I've shouted into the mic about the lack of respect that the Jacksonville Jaguars get on a national basis. You have shouted about the lack of respect the Jacksonville Jaguars get on a national basis. From the folks at ESPN or the NFL Network or CBS or Pro Football Talk. Obviously, Florio's never really been a big fan of this organization. We've just screamed about it. And I've had a lot of people tell me, who cares? Who cares what national people say? We've talked to the Jaguars about it in the past, various head coaches over the years, and they never really played into that. They never played into the lack of respect card. It never really bothered them or did not affect them publicly. They did not use that for motivation. And I always thought that was a missed opportunity because that can be a powerful motivator. They don't believe in us. They're not talking about us. They don't think we're very good. And you pound that into the players' heads over and over and over, and they're going to get ticked. Or in Liam Cohen's terms, quotes, they're going to get pissed off and maybe play a little better. But Jaguar players and Jaguar coaches in the past have never channeled in to the lack of respect the Jaguars have gotten nationally. Until Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen was asked earlier today about motivating the players and keeping them motivated. And I think it's very clear at this point, one of the tactics Liam Cohen is using to do that. Here's the coach's comments from earlier today.
Try to find any edges, any way you can find an edge, and we keep getting the ammunition we need. So that's what it's that's our job as coaches and as staff to kind of continue to find little ways to motivate and to keep things going. And we know that when we play with an edge, it's usually a good thing for the Jags.
Thank you to Jaguars.com. The thoughts of Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen earlier today down at the Miller Electric Center. I love it. I love that finally we have a head coach here in Jacksonville that is using that as motivation, using that as fuel. Urban Meyer was just aloof. He didn't care about anything. Doug Peterson always brushed it off. Doug Marrone even brushed it off to an extent. And the Jaguars weren't any good under Mike Mularkey or Gus Bradley, so it never mattered what the national folks thought because they couldn't do anything about it anyway. Now the Jaguars have a good football team that can do something about all the negativity about them, about all the people saying negative things and not believing in them and talking Houston this and New England that and Denver this. And finally, we have a head coach that is using that. And I love it. I think it is long overdue. For whatever reason, in this city or about this city, the national perspective of the Jaguars has always been very, very negative. And I don't know if that's about the Super Bowl when it was here some 20 plus years ago. I don't know if it's just because people didn't want Jacksonville to get an NFL team. I don't know what it is. But you listen to a lot of the talking heads, and albeit the talking heads that have been around a long time, the elder statesmen, right, on ESPN or any of these other publications or networks nationally, and genuinely and generally, it is very negative connotations when it comes to Jacksonville. And we've taken it, or at least the players and the organization have taken it for a long time. I've voiced my displeasure with it. I know a lot of you have voiced your displeasure with it. But we've never had a coach that has used that as fuel, used that to get messages across to his players, basically saying, forget these guys. This is what they're saying about us. Well, let's go do something about it. Liam Cohen is channeling into that. I absolutely love it. Hey, whatever works, right? You're not going to be able to do that year after year after year because if you continue to be good, obviously the narrative about you will change. But because this team has been awful for a vast majority of the last 20 years, and because the team has only been to the postseason twice in the last 2 decades, which was 2007 and again in 2017 and again in 2022, you can use the negativity about this organization. And Liam Cohen's doing some subtle things. Like, you go anywhere in that Miller Electric Center, you're going to see networks on talking football 24/7. And you'll see, no mention of Jacksonville. It's all about Houston, or it's all about Denver, or it's all about Buffalo. And we've had players even mention things like that. Using that as fuel, using that to fire the guys up. Hey, whatever it takes. As Liam Cohen tells you, his team plays better when they're, quote, pissed off. And whatever does that to those players, I'm all for it because the Jaguars are 9-4. The Jaguars have won 4 in a row, 5 out of 6, and they are in first place by themselves in the AFC South. We'll come back and we'll dive into yesterday's win. And I want to rewind the clock back to the fourth quarter in Houston. This football team is completely different over the last 4 weeks since that fourth quarter in Houston. Everybody talks about that fourth quarter giving the Texans new life, waking the Texans up. And while I believe that to be true, I also think it's true that that fourth quarter woke the Jaguars up as well. We'll talk about it next on a Monday night here in Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
A strong fence makes a good fence. A strong defense makes a good team.
They're the best defense in the league for a reason.
Each week, Superior Fence and Rail presents the Defensive Player of the Game. Go, let's go! On 1010XL.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, Jason, I'm worried.
You? Really? About what?
Well, I like to have a little seasonal potluck. Invite some friends and neighbors and guys from the office. But if the food gets spicy and the party gets rocking and that old toilet in the two-piece can't handle the traffic, well, what if my drain backs up right in the middle of everything?
Dude, imagine you're wearing my sunglasses.
Okay. Shoomp. Whoa.
If you're planning to host a holiday party and a blocked household drain line threatens to ruin the whole thing, call us and tell us. The drain clearing experts at Bueller Aaron Plumbing will unclog your drain for free.
You do that for free?
It's Christmas.
Yeah, but for free?
The holidays can get pretty hectic. If a clogged drain line threatens to ruin the whole thing, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
They're experts on the Jaguars.
This is where it all starts.
Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony bring you Jaguars Today, 10 to noon weekdays.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL.
The best financial move you can make this time of year? How about lowering your mortgage rate to 4.99% fixed APR, the lowest rate in years? How about getting up to $500,000 out of your home equity in the process? You can do it now by calling Loan Pronto. Hey, it's Prosser here, and with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can get a ton of cash, pay off all those high-interest credit cards, and skip up to 2 house payments. One homeowner just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. Wiped out their credit cards and 2 car loans, saved $2,100 a month. So don't wait. No hard credit pull up front, and you probably won't even need an appraisal. Just fast, easy cash from your home's equity. Act now. Call 904-999-1508 or go to loanpronto.com. Start the new year by wiping out your high-interest debt. 904-999-1508. And you can see how much cash you can get today. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, APR for well-qualified buyers. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
The holiday season is the season of love. If you're getting engaged now or just looking for that unforgettable gift for the woman you love, Beards Diamonds is here for you. This Christmas, Beards is proud to showcase the world's premier designers in both bridal and fashion. Like Gabriel & Company, luxury jewelry that inspires you. Classic, contemporary, vintage, whatever you desire, Gabriel & Company has bridal and fashion collections made by artisans of love. Choose love, trust, and authenticity. Choose Gabriel & Company. Beards Diamonds is the town center's local jeweler. So at Beards, you never have to settle for corporate chain store quality. We've put together our best selection ever of exquisite jewelry for the holidays. From the newest designer styles to classic diamond studs and diamond bracelets, with your choice of natural or lab-grown diamonds. Whether your holiday budget is a few hundred or a few $100,000, the experts at Beards will help you find the jewelry that reflects your love. Beards Diamonds at the St. John's Town Center.
Hey, I'm Steffi. You may know me from your social feed. I go big for the holidays, so I'm going to Famous Footwear because the best gifts are giving famous. My friends and family are gonna love all these styles from Nike, Adidas, Crocs, New Balance, Skechers, and more. With over 800 stores, you're never far from the perfect gift. So make your list and make it famous. Come in today for buy one pair, get one half off at your local Famous Footwear or famous.com. Some exclusions apply.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Conclusion of Week 14, Monday Night Football just kicked off. Philadelphia and the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers in the powder blues tonight. Eagles have the ball first. They got the ball about their own 45-yard line. 13 minutes to go in the first quarter. We are scoreless. We will keep you updated. The 8-4 Eagles and the 8-4 Los Angeles Chargers. Back here on Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM. All right, yesterday's game. Well, I'll tell you, look, injuries suck, right? You don't ever want to see somebody get hurt. But we talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Obviously, it's a much different conversation about yesterday's events in Indianapolis with the injury to Daniel Jones. But one of the things from a Jaguar perspective that I enjoyed seeing was after the injury, the Jaguars kept their foot on the pedal. They didn't get the Colts or allow the Colts to get off the mat. right? Daniel Jones gets hurt. You then cause the fumble on Jonathan Taylor. Eric Murray rips it out. One play later, ETN's in the end zone, 28 yards. You then drive down, or you stuff him on a 4th and 1 with under 2 minutes to go in the first half. You drive down. Trevor Lawrence, a couple of great plays to Tim Patrick, including the touchdown. You go in the locker room 28-10, and the game is essentially over at that point. Indianapolis was not going to score enough in the second half to come back from that. So despite the injury and maybe in some instances, like with Joe Burrow in week 2 goes down and Jake Browning comes in, maybe the Jaguars taking their foot off the gas in the past. That certainly did not happen yesterday, and they go on to a dominating 36-19 victory over their AFC South rival. As far as the game goes, Trevor Lawrence I thought was fantastic. If you take into consideration the conditions with the pouring down rain, the cold weather, the magnitude of the game, and playing against a pretty good Indianapolis Colt defense, Trevor throwing for 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, you can't ask for much better than that. Over the last 8 quarters, that's 4 touchdowns and 0 picks for Trevor Lawrence in back-to-back division wins over the Titans and over the Colts. As far as the wide receivers go, kudos to James Gladstone, because on August 1st, Tim Patrick and Jacoby Myers were not even on the Jaguar roster. And now here we are, Tim Patrick and Jacoby Myers being vital parts of the offense yesterday, both catching touchdowns. Again, kudos to James Gladstone for the decisions that he made in making those trades to bring both of those guys in. And that brings me to Brian Thomas Jr. We're going to hear Liam Cohen's thoughts on BTJ here in one moment. Clearly his best game of the year. 3 catches, 87 yards. 2 of those catches were unbelievable. And even the 18-yarder was a pretty good one. Brian Thomas Jr. finally, in Week 14, started resembling the guy that we thought we were going to have the entire year. Hopefully that confidence continues to build, and we see that over the next month plus as we get into the home stretch here of the NFL regular season. Earlier today down at the Miller Electric Center, Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen was asked about Brian Thomas Jr.'s performance from yesterday.
I think just getting healthier, right? Like as a wideout and you got an ankle, like that's just, it's hard. It's hard to feel confident probably going out and cutting and running and stopping and making plays. And I think right now he just feels better. He feels healthier. He's been practicing hard. He's been practicing at full speed. Him and the quarterback and Trevor have worked at it. Like they've put time into it. And it showed up yesterday in a big way for us. Like that's an area of our offense that has been much needed. And to have it show up yesterday was such a good thing to see for us moving forward, for our confidence as a group. When you can attack, like I said, every blade of grass, you're just becoming that much more difficult to defend.
The thoughts of Jaguar head coach Liam Cohen earlier today at the Miller Electric Center. Thank you to Jaguars.com. Defensively yesterday, Greg Newsome, probably his best game as a Jacksonville Jaguar. Again, that's another move that James Gladstone made. I mentioned Jacoby Myers and Tim Patrick. Well, Greg Newsome as well. I thought I played his best game as a Jaguar yesterday. And the pass rush, not only Hines Allen, but, I mean, Danny Strigal with a sack. It got called back due to defensive hold. But Strigal, B.J. Green, Trayvon Walker, welcome back. A big 4th and 1 stop on Jonathan Taylor that ultimately led to the Jaguar touchdown right before the end of the first half. It was complimentary football at its finest. You look on the opening play, Devin Lloyd gets an interception. The Jaguars punch it in. Jarian Jones recovers a fumble. The Jaguars punch that in. And then Trayvon Walker stops Jonathan Taylor on 4th down. And the Jaguars get the ball and punch that in. 3 touchdowns, 21 of your points came off a turnover on downs or a fumble recovery or an interception. That is absolutely complimentary football at its finest. And in conditions like that yesterday, for Cam Little to be 6 of 6 on kicks, 4 for 4 on extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals in a driving rainstorm. Again, great special teams play yesterday to be able to get all that done. And I say all that to say this. The Jaguars have now won 4 games in a row. 3 of those games, they have destroyed their opponent. The Chargers, the Titans, and the Colts. The games were so out of hand that Nick Mullins saw snaps in the fourth quarter. You sandwich an overtime road win in there against Arizona. So you've won 4 games in a row. And you've won 4 games in a row since the absolute disaster that the fourth quarter was in Houston. I remember sitting here 29 days ago, roughly, after that Houston game. I remember sitting in this studio after the Jaguars blew that game to the Texans. Well, first I remember coming in for the fifth quarter that Sunday night, where my head was just spinning. I was in a fog. I mean, what just happened? And really, 24 hours later, I don't think any of us were out of that fog. What just happened? And at the time, I remember saying, as much as this sucks, and it did suck, the hope was that it would be used for good. It would be used for the positive, a learning experience, or whatever you want to call it. Well, I think we have discovered over the last 4 weeks that Houston fourth quarter has been much, much more than a learning experience for the Jaguars. It has been a rallying cry. You heard Liam Cohen talk about it in the postgame on Sunday after the win over Indy. You heard Travis Etienne talk about it in the postgame Sunday after the win over Indy as well. The pain that this team suffered, losing that 19-point lead in the fourth quarter, is driving them to do what they're doing right now, to beat the Chargers, to beat the Cardinals, to beat the Titans, to beat the Colts, to win 4 in a row. And again, 3 of those games were not in question in the fourth quarter. The Jaguars absolutely dominated. The national narrative on that game is that gave the Texans a second chance. That gave the Texans life. That gave the Texans an opportunity to get off the mat. And yeah, that's correct, because the Texans have taken what they did in the fourth quarter against Jacksonville, and they've run with it, and they haven't lost since. So I agree with that sentiment. But I also think this. I think the Jaguars have taken that fourth quarter in Houston and used it and ran with it as well. The Jaguars, you could argue, have been every bit as dominant, if not more dominant, than the Texans over the last 4 games. As great as that fourth quarter was for Houston, and as much as they used that to propel themselves into where they are now, and as bad as that fourth quarter was for Jacksonville, a complete opposite of what it was for the Texans, I think the result has been the same. The Jaguars, like Houston, have used that fourth quarter to propel themselves to where they are now. I'll be honest with you. If Jacksonville holds on to win that game 29-10, I'm not sure if they've won the last 4 games in a row. And I'm not sure, at least, if they've won the last 4 in a row in the fashion that they have won. I do believe that fourth quarter in Houston, and remembering how that felt, is a driving factor, a motivator for this team, and it has powered them to be the team they have been over the last 4 weeks. And what kind of team is that? Well, you could argue it's been one of, if not the most dominant teams in the National Football League over the last month of the NFL regular season. Week 14 in the National Football League is wrapping up tonight with Monday Night Football. You got the Chargers and you have the Philadelphia Eagles. In fact, the Chargers have just found the end zone. Justin Herbert to Amari and Hampton. Welcome back, Amari and Hampton. He hadn't played in like 2 months. He's back tonight. A 4-yard touchdown pass. Chargers 7, Eagles nothing. Denmark, I think that we probably thought the AFC coming into the year was going to be better than the NFC just because of Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Burrow. Well, the AFC is better than the NFC, but it's not because of those 4 quarterbacks. The parity in the AFC compared to that of the NFC, if you look at the NFC playoff picture, outside of the Rams and the Seahawks, and maybe you could argue Philadelphia, those are clearly the three best teams. And then you could throw in there Green Bay, perhaps, maybe throw in there Detroit. You know, we'll see about San Francisco. You look in the AFC right now, and you could go 1-8 and legit, or at least 1-7, and legit argue who the best team in the conference is. Is it Denver? Is it New England? Is it Jacksonville? Throw Buffalo into the equation. The Chargers are going for 9-4 tonight. You look at how Pittsburgh has played at times this year. You look at even a team like Indy prior to yesterday. Indy was considered maybe the best team in the league 3 weeks ago before their season has just imploded. The AFC 1-7 is a very, very parity-driven conference. And you look at Buffalo beating Cincinnati yesterday. You look at Houston beating Kansas City. You look at Jacksonville beating Indianapolis. You look at what Denver and New England have done. The AFC playoffs are going to be a heck of a lot of fun, and it certainly appears that one of the teams that's punching their ticket to that party will be your Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's look back on yesterday's win over the Indianapolis Colts. Let's also look big picture. Jaguars at 9-4, the job Liam Cohen has done in year number 1. And let's look at the AFC playoff picture with Steve Palazzolo. He is the host of the Check the Mic podcast. He's with the 33rd team, does a terrific job covering the National Football League. And Steve joins me next on a Monday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Sometimes it's an offensive show.
You gotta be kidding me.
Sometimes it's a show of offensive discipline.
There are no words.
Listen for the Universal Roof and Contracting Offensive Player of the Game on 1010XL.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, this is Lauren Brooks. With over 1,800 five-star Google reviews, it was a no-brainer to have Closets by Design get us organized for the holidays. From closets to garages to laundry rooms and so much more, Closets by Design will design a custom storage solution for all of your spaces. Nothing says happy holidays like a home that is peaceful and clutter-free. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation before year-end and get 40% off plus an extra 15% off with free installation. Call 878-9393 or visit closetsbydesign.com.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL. Served by Dandy Foods, making quality fresh sandwiches since 1956.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, adorable mascot for Checkmate Coatings.
If you're thinking of refinishing your garage floor, there's 2 things you need to know about us. My family has been in the concrete coatings industry for more than 40 years.
And I was drawn 6 months ago by an artist in New Jersey.
Why is that even relevant?
Well, you said 40 years experience, so I had to give them something.
Over the years, we've worked closely with major manufacturers to develop a multi-layer application process that creates beautiful, durable, and long-lasting floors.
So even decades from now, your garage floor will look as gorgeous as it did the day it was installed.
Experience?
Check. Durable?
Check. Decades of experience making garage floors gorgeous? Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com. That's checkmatecoatings.com.
Hey, is your home ready for the holidays? Hick in here. Spots are filling up fast. Lock in yours today at ZeroResJacksonville.com and get 20% off all hard surface cleaning, tile and grout, hardwood, LVP. Happy holidays from all of us at Zero Res.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here for the best weight loss program that I've ever been on. You know, I hear some of my friends telling me about this medication they're on or that medication they're on or this shot they're taking. And I stop them and say, well, wait a minute. I lost over 100 pounds doing it the all-natural way with Awaken 180 weight loss. There was no medications. There was no shot once a week. There was the coaching I received from Awaken 180. There's the plan they put me on, and you see the results. Over 100 pounds of weight loss in less than a calendar year. The coaching I got was phenomenal. Not only did it help me lose the weight, it's helping me keep the weight off now that I'm in the maintenance program. Awaken 180 is the best weight loss program I've ever been on, and I tried them all. Go to awaken180weightloss.com, awaken180weightloss.com, or call 844-346-1800.
If you need a holiday gift idea, let Kuhn Flowers handle it for you. Hi, Flying Jacko here. Simply go online to kuhnflowers.com and look at the wide variety of floral and plant arrangements. That'll make someone's day this holiday season.
Look around and we know you've got options for gasoline, but those other places, they're not in the business of more. At Shell, that's what you get every day. Members get more rewards, more savings, more special offers. You'll even get 10 cents per gallon off of your first fill when you sign up, and save on every fill after that. Choose to get more and more with every drive. Join the Shell Fuel Rewards program today at fuelrewards.com. Offer valid at participating Shell locations. Offer must be redeemed within 60 days of registration. Limit 20 gallons. Restrictions apply. Visit fuelrewards.com for more information.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Jaguars and the Jets, Sunday, 1 o'clock. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL. The Jaguars 9-4 on the year. After yesterday's impressive win over the Indianapolis Colts, the Jaguars currently sit number 1 in the AFC South, one game better than both Houston and Indianapolis. Let's look back on the win yesterday. Let's look ahead to the rest of the Jaguar season, and let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture with Steve Palazzolo, the host of the Check the Mic podcast, one of my favorites to talk Jaguar football with, and Steve is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Steve, how we doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, Steve, always appreciate the time. All right, 9-4, year number 1 for Liam Cohen. On the surface, Steve, appears to be a really good job he's done here. What's been your thought to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely a really nice job. And the Jags, I thought early in the season, you know, the defense living off all the turnovers that they created those first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, that was going to be really tough to sustain. And you can't really sustain it, but I think the most encouraging part was the offense hadn't clicked at that point. They had spurts with the run game and the pass game, but it was never really on point. And I think you're seeing some really good signs these last few weeks, even back to the Arizona game, despite a couple bad decisions from Trevor Lawrence. I thought you started to see, really since the Jakobi Meyers addition, more consistency, roles for all the receivers, even with Parker Washington hurt. I think you have guys that the defense has to account for. Brian Thomas Jr. yesterday looking really good. And so I think the offense is starting to come together, and you just see Liam Cohen, whose MO has been able to just adjust to what the season is bringing to the table. And I think that's what they've done a really nice job of. And that's why they're sitting here at 9-4.
I'm a big Check the Mic podcast fan, and I know you're a fandom for Tim Patrick, so I thought it would be fitting to have you on today after Tim Patrick does what he did. You mentioned Jakobi Meyers, Brian Thomas Jr. When they get Parker Washington back, you mix in Britton Strange as well, Steve. All of a sudden, even minus Travis Hunter, this Jaguar passing attack could be pretty good down the stretch.
Very good. It's the great Tim Patrick, as you know. I mean, I started loving him in college when you see a guy, 6'4", 6'5", who moves as well as he does. He's just always been a really efficient receiver when given opportunities. So you saw the big plays yesterday, Brian Thomas Jr. moving him around, those tight splits, having him in the slot and running him down the field, right? Just creating those big plays. I think he looks a lot more comfortable now, and Jakobi Meyers can do a lot more of the dirty work. And, he's always been a very good possession receiver, runs good routes, catches the ball, gets open, right place at the right time. So I think Meyers has added just a ton of confidence to Trevor Lawrence in this offense, knowing like some of the anticipation throws that Lawrence throws to Meyers, you can tell that they've clicked pretty quickly. And then Britton Strange, who you mentioned, the ability to work the middle of the field and have a threat at tight end. And I'm also a huge Parker Washington fan. I know he's had, spurts with drops and then spurts where he looks uncoverable. But I just think he adds just another dynamic element to that offense. So, yeah, I think the playmakers are really coming together. And I love the way the passing attack has looked these last few weeks.
Steve Palazzolo, the host of the Check the Mic podcast. The question with Liam Cohen, or one of the big questions, is would the running game come with him to Jacksonville? We remember what he did last year in Tampa. He even brought his center from Tampa, or one of his centers, and Robert Hainsey with him. Not a acclaimed offensive line here in Jacksonville, Steve, by any stretch of the imagination, but it's an offensive line that has played better as the year has gone on. And clearly that rushing attack does appear to be pretty good right now as well.
Yeah, I like what they've done. I mean, with the speed in the backfield, I know, Tootin had the fumble yesterday and everything, but they, I thought early in the year they did a really nice job using Etienne and Tootin in the pass game and screen game and getting those guys into space. And I think they've done a really nice job with the run game. And again, I think, Cohen has shown the ability. What he did in Tampa was take a run game that had been pretty bad for about 2.5 years. And the second half of last year in particular turned it into a really good run game. So, it takes some time. You find out the concepts and, the what your offensive line does best. And, yeah, this offensive line is not this road grading group. They're, on paper, I think, better in pass protection than they are in the run game. But I think he's done a really nice job working to their skill set, creating some room, and getting the speed back, some opportunities to make some plays. So, yeah, I've been really impressed with how it's all come together.
On the defensive side of the ball, Liam Cohen being an offensive guy, when he hired Anthony Campanile, first-time defensive coordinator, that maybe raised some eyebrows a little bit. But as you mentioned, when the season started, they're taking the ball away 3 times a game for the first month. And even though that has leveled off a little bit, they got back to that yesterday, 3 forced turnovers in the win over Indianapolis. Just speak to the job Campanile has done in year number 1. And I don't know if he's going to get head coaching, talk yet, but if he keeps this up for the next year or two, he will get looks as a head coach somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's been really impressive. I think, the pass rush has been come and go at times. Josh Hines-Allen has been outstanding. I think, when Trayvon Walker's been healthy, I think he was, taking a step forward at times. But, difficult players to block up front with Eric Armstead in there. And the linebackers have been extremely active. Obviously love what Devin Lloyd has done for the majority of the season when he's been healthy. So, I think it's been a really nice job on the defensive side of the ball, especially with the secondary, working with it's just a new group, right? A whole bunch of players who hadn't really played together, bringing in Greg Newsome, Jordan Lewis coming in. So I think they've done a really nice job fitting all of those pieces together defensively. And definitely been impressed with what the linebackers have done with Foye Olakun and Devin Lloyd. They've been really impressive all season.
Steve, I want to look big picture, AFC playoff picture in a moment. Final Jaguar-centric topic, I guess. That collapse against Houston. Obviously that gave Houston life a month ago. Houston hasn't lost since. But in a strange sort of way, that collapse almost gave Jacksonville life too, because they've talked about that over and over. In fact, they brought it up yesterday. Travis Etienne brought it up, the feeling they had after that Houston collapse. Liam Cohen talked about it. The Jaguars have won 4 in a row since then, and they've destroyed 3 of those opponents to the point where Nick Mullins has been in the game in the fourth quarter against the Chargers, the Titans, and the Colts. What was your thought about that collapse? And in retrospect, it looks like it probably helped Jacksonville.
I really think it says a lot about Liam Cohen and the job that they've done, and maybe even from the top down with James Gladstone and what they've been able to do as an organization. It was the type of collapse where I still reference it on the show, because when you're sitting there sorting out playoff picture and everything, it's one of those you look back on and it's like, man, that's a missed opportunity for the Jags against a division rival. But the fact that they were able to use it for good, turn it around, especially the next game against the Chargers, a very good team, and to dominate the way that they did. And, you beat the Cardinals, you beat the Titans, but you beat the Colts pretty handily. Yeah, there's a quarterback injury, whatever. I think that could have been season derailing as far as the way the second half collapse went. So the fact that they were able to bounce back from that, I think it's really impressive what the whole organization has done to be able to get back on track and use it for good rather than for something that would potentially derail the season. You see that from good coaches around the league, right? You're never going to be perfect. You're going to face adversity. And we've seen the Jags just a couple years ago. We went with an 8-3 and then, struggle down the stretch and don't make the playoffs. So you see what happens when you have bad games and they snowball and everything goes south. The fact that they've been able to turn that around, win the next 4, and in the fashion that they've won them, I think it's really impressive from Liam Cohen and the entire organization.
Final moment, Steve Palazzolo, host of the Check the Mic podcast. All right, AFC South, Steve, let's begin there. The Jaguars are 9-4, Houston 8-5. You could argue Jacksonville and Houston are playing some of the best football in the National Football League right now. Obviously, Indianapolis still in the mix at 8-5, but the Daniel Jones injury plus their schedule, it might be curtains for them. You look at Houston's remaining schedule. I know it's Arizona, Las Vegas, at the Chargers, and the Colts. Jacksonville is kind of similar, right? 2 relative cupcakes, Jets and Titans at home. They have to go to Denver, and they have to go to Indy. How do you see the AFC South shaking out with the Jaguars having a 1-game lead with 4 to go?
I mean, we know in the NFL anything can happen, so throw those cliches out there. But I think even if Daniel Jones was healthy, you look at that Colts team, and they won some good games along the way, but they definitely beat up on some of the lesser teams that now, the Jags and the Texans get to play down the stretch here. So I was expecting a really challenging second half for the Colts, and that's what's happened. And now the Daniel Jones injury, I'm not saying they're completely done. Maybe Riley Leonard, they use his legs and stay in games and try to keep it close. It's going to be a challenge, though, I think, for the Colts. The Jags should absolutely be favored in 3 of the last 4 games. So I think they're sitting in a good spot. And then with the Texans, you see what they just did to the Chiefs on the road last night. That defense is probably the best in the league right now. You look at the Texans defense, the Seahawks defense, with the Rams defense. And that's the other thing about what the Jags have gone through. I mean, they played the Seahawks, Rams back-to-back after the Chiefs. Like, they went through a bit of a stretch in the middle there where you're facing these very difficult defenses in the NFC West. But that's what Houston brings to the table. I think they have this defense that can compete with anybody, and they're going to be one of the biggest challenges in the AFC. They've got potential on offense. It's inconsistent with Stroud in that passing game, but that defense is outstanding. So yeah, I think the Texans and Jags, 2 best teams in the division right now, and I think the Colts are going to have a tough time of it with 4 playoff caliber teams that they're playing down the stretch here.
And you look at it right now, if the playoffs started today, no Baltimore, no Kansas City. I mean, that would have been unfathomable 2 months ago or 2.5 months ago. New England and Denver, Jaguars will see Denver in a week and a half. Jacksonville's the 3, Pittsburgh's the 4. What's your overall thought on the AFC here with a month to go in the regular season?
It's just a different world. I mean, the Chiefs aren't out of it yet, but if they are, what a world it is. I mean, it's a year of these defenses carrying teams, and then it's, can these young quarterbacks emerge? I think the Patriots are a good all-around team, but we haven't seen them play a ton of challenging teams. They've handled all the tests, but they have Buffalo this week. I think Buffalo's still the most dangerous. In any given week, we saw what Josh Allen did yesterday. He can become superhuman at any given point as a runner, as a passer. So they're still probably the most dangerous team, and they might have a 5 seed going up against the AFC North champion, whether that's the Steelers, the Ravens. So might not be the most difficult road for Buffalo. But then you see Denver's defense near the top. They're like the Texans, can take over any game. Bo Nix has made a lot of clutch plays. It's going to be a fun playoffs, I think. Whether if Mahomes is out of there and Lamar's out of there, it's different, and it gives the young quarterbacks and these defensive-centric teams a lot of opportunities to go on a run here. So I think it's going to be a fun AFC.
Steve, final question. NFC, we got 30 seconds. Is it as clear as the Rams, Seahawks, and everybody else? What's your thought there?
I think it's too early to write off the Eagles. I think tonight will give us a lot of answers there, but the Eagles still have plenty of playmakers on offense, even though they're very inconsistent. Their defense is legit. And, Seahawks and Rams look like the 2 best teams, and they play on Thursday night in a couple weeks. So that'll be the battle for the number 1 seed in that conference.
Steve, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the Check the Mic podcast. We got to get Sam more on board with the Jags, man. I get the vibe that he's not really sold on Jacksonville, maybe to the extent that you are. I think you guys do a terrific job. Tell our audience about your podcast and where they can find it.
Sam's negative about everybody. It's more his Irish personality than any hate of any particular team. But yeah, we're on YouTube or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Search Check the Mic, and we break down the entire league, equal hate and love for all 32 teams.
It's one of my favorite podcasts to watch, the Check the Mic podcast with Sam Monson and Steve Palazzolo. Steve, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, and we'll talk soon, pal.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Go! Your play-by-play home of Bulls Bulldogs football is 1010XL.
It's the state championship, and the Bulldogs' 12th title is on the line against Cardinal Mooney of Sarasota. Wednesday at 7 on 1010 AM.
Ah, family's here. Ready for a perfect holiday?
Honey, the toilet's overflowing.
What? Now? With everyone here?
The sink's backed up too. Cool, it's like a water park in here.
Great! Best holiday ever.
Don't panic. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. They'll fix it before we're swimming in mashed potatoes.
Got a holiday plumbing disaster? Call Duck Duck Rooter, your local plumbing pros. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
The holidays are happening. Whether you're ready or not, 1010XL's Holiday Gift Guide is here to help. Loaded with great gift ideas from Beaches Dermatology, Wicca Candle Bar, and Beards Diamonds. Start shopping and saving at 1010XL.com.
Are you ready? The Jaguars are back at home for the second straight week. Join us at Everbank Stadium Sunday, December 14th, when your Jags take on the New York Jets in our Inspire Change game, celebrating social justice and community impact. Kickoff is at 1 p.m., so bring the energy, bring the noise, and be part of something bigger than the game. Don't wait. Lock in your seats now at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000.
Hey, gang, Prosser here. When it comes to selling your home, you think you got problems? Well, I got promises. Chad and Sandy do. Jacksonville homes are selling, but it can take months and a low price to sell. Not anymore. You go with Chad and Sandy Newman, the experts that I recommend. Proven systems. They drive demand for selling your home, and they have this guarantee. Bottom line, Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. That's why they're the local real estate experts that I'm trusting and recommending. Need to sell now? Chad and Sandy will have instant offers, fast, easy, and stress-free. Keith in Atlantic Beach said, I wanted to move my parents closer. They needed a lot of help getting their home ready for sale and finding a new one. Medical issues made things even more challenging. I called Chad and Sandy because I heard their stories on the radio. The Chad and Sandy team were compassionate, professional, got the job done. My folks' home sold the very first weekend for $1.2 million in cash. Call the local experts I'm recommending. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200 or chadandsandy.com.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick. We're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
Hey, David again here with Royal Pest Services. It's that time of year when rodents start making their way into our homes. Layson, tell them what they need to get in.
A quarter-size hole.
That's right. That's all they need. Hey, tell them where to go for a free attic and exterior inspection.
Visit RoyalPestServices.com.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. If you've been wanting to upgrade your outdoor living space and just haven't pulled the trigger, you should call the experts at Lifetime Enclosures right now. From glass lanais to screened-in enclosures, Lifetime Enclosures and Flooring is the best in the business. Spring will be here before we know it. So give them a call today and upgrade that area that needs it the most. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Ready to take your gift giving to the limit? Hey, I'm Ben Kay, owner of Gotham City Limit, your local comic shop, inviting you to stop by and see how we can help this holiday season. From comics to collectibles, community, and more, visit GothamCityLimit.com and always take it to the limit.
Make Honda of the Avenues your first stop for award-winning customer service and world-class Honda vehicles. Our inventory is larger than ever, which means we have the perfect Honda waiting for you. Plus, at Honda of the Avenues, we always put our customers first, making the car buying experience fun, fast, and easy. You'll always find great deals on our huge selection of new and certified pre-owned Hondas, all prepped and ready for a test drive. Come see just how different car buying can be at Honda of the Avenues today. Stop by or shop from home at HondaoftheAvenues.com. Proud sponsor of Sporting Jags.
Come to Monahan Jewelers' 48th annual holiday sale now with up to 30% off on GIA certified diamonds and up to 40% off our entire store. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. We're not a big box store. We're your local family jeweler with an amazing hand-picked inventory for every budget. And with interest-free financing, enjoy beautiful jewelry with a low monthly payment. Support your local family jeweler this Christmas with up to 40% off our entire inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach open 7 days a week in December.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Monday Night Football, second quarter, Chargers 7, Philadelphia 3. Justin Herbert passed to Amari and Hampton for the only touchdown of the game. Eagles have responded by getting a field goal. Chargers 7, Philadelphia 3. Beginning stages of the second quarter. Back into the National Football League in one moment. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4 will join us coming up in less than 20 minutes to talk Jaguars' victory over the Colts and look ahead ever so briefly to the New York Football Jets, who are coming into Jacksonville on Sunday. The college football playoff, quickly. The big story was, all right, is it going to be Miami? Is it going to be Notre Dame? What about Alabama? Was there any argument for BYU or Texas or Vanderbilt? All right, so the way it played out to me is the way it should have played out. I have absolutely no dog in the fight. I could care less about Miami, all due respect to my buddy Leon Searcy and JJ LaSelva here at the radio station. I could also care less about Notre Dame. They're college football teams to me. I am not a fan by any stretch of the imagination of either one of them. But when two teams are ranked that close together and two teams are thought to be that close together amidst 130 other Division I college football programs, and one team beat the other one on the field, I'm sorry. The team that won that game should get the spot in the playoff. Now, if Notre Dame is ranked 6th and Miami is ranked 13th and Miami beat Notre Dame, well, that might be a little different. But when you have one team basically at number 10 and the other team basically at number 11, and they played each other on the field and Miami won the game, I don't know what the argument is for Notre Dame. I have no idea. And I know Notre Dame fans are pissed, and I probably would be too if I was in your position, in your shoes. But as the great Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. There is no debate about what would happen if Notre Dame played Miami, because they did play. And I don't care if it was on opening night. They played this college football season. Miami beat them on the field. They're ranked right next to one another in the final rankings. Head-to-head should take precedent. I'm happy it did. I'm happy common sense prevailed. Head-to-head does matter. Miami gets that spot. I think if you want a Notre Dame argument, maybe a better argument would be Alabama with 3 losses, including a horrific loss to Florida State. Now, the reason Alabama got in is because the SEC championship teams are always going to get in. The 2 teams that make it to Atlanta will always get in the playoff, because the first time that the loser of that game does not get in the playoff, teams are not going to want to go to the SEC championship game anymore, which will not work out well for Greg Sankey and the SEC. So you bet your bottom dollar that every time Team A and Team B play in Atlanta for the SEC championship, yeah, the winner will get a bye, but the loser is getting in the playoff. Because the first year the loser does not get in the playoff, the SEC championship game is going to go bye-bye, and the SEC is not going to let that happen. And you make the argument, well, any team that plays on championship weekend should not be penalized from that. Denmark, I think it begs the question, was BYU penalized? Would BYU have gotten in had they not had to play Texas Tech and lose that game on Saturday?
I still say no, because BYU doesn't have a single win.
Agreed, but I think you could make the argument that BYU's case was much stronger before the Big 12 championship game than it was after the Big 12 championship game. You play in that game, you lose by 3 touchdowns or whatever it was. I think you have a much stronger argument to get in prior to getting boat raced in that game. I don't know if playing in that game cost BYU. I know it certainly did not help BYU. So here's how it went out, in case you didn't see it. Indiana, number 1. The fact that Indiana beat Ohio State, the fact that Indiana is 23-2 in the last 2 seasons with Curt Cignetti is nothing short of a college football miracle, I guess. I mean, think about the Indiana Hoosiers prior to Curt Cignetti's arrival. And what Cignetti has done there is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's incredible. So they are Big Ten champions. They are the number 1 seed. By the way, their reward for that is getting the winner of Oklahoma and Alabama. I'm not sure how much of a reward that is, but Indiana will get the winner of Oklahoma, Alabama. Ohio State is your 2 seed. Ohio State will get the winner of Miami and Texas A&M. Denmark, I think of all 4 first-round matchups, we've seen Oklahoma, Alabama already, and I still think it'll be good. But Miami, Texas A&M, on paper, that's probably the best, clearly, of the 4 first-round games, right?
Yeah, that'll be the best game. That'll be the most entertaining game. Alabama, Oklahoma, first team to like 21 is probably going to win that game. And then you have the 2 cream puff teams that have made the college football playoff that are underdogs by 17 or 20, and no one cares about those games.
I would agree. Hold 1 second on that. I tend to agree with you. That's a terrible draw for Oklahoma. You already beat Alabama once. Huge win. The celebration that Oklahoma had in Tuscaloosa. Even though you get them in Norman, you got to play them again. Oklahoma's not beating them twice, right?
Probably not. And Alabama's a favorite, although it's only like 1.5. I mean, it's very similar to last year. The 5 seed is in a phenomenal spot. They get to play, a very bad team in the G5, and then they play the 1 seed, and they have the luxury of not having 2 weeks off. 3 weeks off. Oregon gets a week off, and Indiana gets 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off in college football is a lot. Oregon is like the 5 seed last year. Ohio State. I think wasn't Ohio State.
I think it was Penn State, because Penn State got
Penn State was
I think it was Boise. Yeah.
And Penn State had the easy road because they made the Final Four last year.
Yeah, I tend to agree. The James Madison thing, it is what it is. The committee said the 5 highest ranked conference champions. You can't put Duke in over James Madison. I mean, I get the argument that Duke beat 7 Power 4 teams. Duke's big win was beating Virginia. I mean, that was their big win. And that's probably a bigger win than anybody James Madison had. But James Madison went 11-1, or 12-1, I guess. They did everything required of them. And the way the committee has stated it, and maybe if they wanted to do it over, they would have said the Power 4 champions. They did not. The 5 highest-ranked conference champions. And when the ACC has a conference champion that lost 5 games, the reality is they're not going to be one of the 5 highest-ranked champions. So James Madison gets in. I have no problem with Tulane getting in. Tulane, North Texas, that was a top 25 game. North Texas was 21st. Tulane was 24th. It was a battle of ranked teams for the conference championship. I don't think Tulane's got much of a chance against Ole Miss. I will be fascinated, though, to see Ole Miss minus Lane Kiffin, just to see the dynamic and how all that works. Is it a rallying cry for Ole Miss to not have Lane Kiffin, or is it a separator for that football team? We'll probably find out pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to find out in that game. I mean, Ole Miss and Tulane already played this year, and Ole Miss blew them out. And by the way, like 4 assistant coaches, like the tight ends coach and a couple other coaches that were with Lane Kiffin at LSU, and Kiffin told them you can coach at Ole Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss won that first game against Tulane 45-10. Ole Miss will beat them. It won't be 45-10 again. Tulane's better than they were. That was the game that was relatively early in the year. Tulane's better. And John Summerall, maybe I just have my orange and blue blinders on here. I'll be rooting like heck for him to go into Oxford and win. But conventional thinking would be Oregon's going to advance. Ole Miss is going to advance. I don't know who I'm going to take between Miami and Texas A&M. I got to think about that one. But I'll probably pick Alabama to beat Oklahoma. And if that's the case, you would have Alabama versus Indiana. You would have Oregon, Texas Tech. You would have Ole Miss and Georgia. And then you would have the winner of Miami and Texas A&M taking on Ohio State. More on John Summerall, more on the Florida Gators and the college ranks. Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, including Graham's on his way to Madison Square Garden for Florida UConn tomorrow night in college hoops. We'll talk about all that with Graham coming up towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Coming up next, back into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Big win, huge win over the Indianapolis Colts yesterday. The Jaguars now sit 9-4 and in first place all by themselves in the AFC South. My buddy Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. We will recap the win over Indianapolis. We will look big picture at the AFC playoffs, and we will take a brief look ahead to the New York Football Jets. That's all coming up next. Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4 joins us here on Hacker After Dark on a Monday night here in Northeast Florida, and we're glad you're with us right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
He tackles talk radio like a middle linebacker in the gap.
I tell it like I see it, and I see it like a middle linebacker.
Tommy Mack. Fridays on Jaguars Today. Unsealed by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Greenlaw Group is for the insured. If you think you have roof damage, call 904-302-7055 today, and they will schedule you a free roof inspection. Trust their law firm to help you fight your insurance when you need it. These storms can cause damage you may not even see yet. Call Greenlaw Group 302-7055. There's no cost to retain their law firm and no cost to have your roof inspected. They only get paid if you win. Greenlaw Group, for the insured.
The doctors at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists have resolved my hip and foot issues, and I'm back to training for the 2028 Olympics in LA. This is Garrett Scantling, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
This is David Garrard. Following my knee surgeries and recovery, I'm continuing to feel great and would recommend Southeast Orthopedic to anyone who's experiencing orthopedic pain.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
This is Jeff Middlecoff with Cogent Bank. My associate Ryan Salem and I joined Cogent Bank because we wanted to revolutionize the mortgage business, just like Cogent Bank has revolutionized the banking business. So Ryan Salem and I are able to leverage the power and stability of Cogent Bank to go out and find our clients the best investors, the best products, and the best rates in the entire country for your particular mortgage loan. Of course, you don't have to be a customer at Cogent Bank to take advantage of our mortgage services to buy or refinance your home. We offer jumbo loans, VA, FHA, conventional, and investment loans. At Cogent Bank, we offer mortgages nationwide, so we can help you with a second home or help a family member who lives or is moving to another state. Call Ryan Salem or myself, Jeff Middlecoff, at Cogent Bank today, 904-442-9191, to see how we can help you with any of your mortgage loan needs, whatever or wherever they may be.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, Cogent Bank, NMLS ID 402296. Ryan Salem, NMLS ID 1182429. Jeff Middlecoff, NMLS ID 249086.
Go inside your home team's locker room with Jags beat reporter Hayes Carline.
Check out my blog at 1010XL.com.
So you can catch all the news and nuggets you need to know.
My blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing,
where quality and experience count.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, adorable mascot for Checkmate Coatings.
If you're thinking of refinishing your garage floor, there's 2 things you need to know about us. My family has been in the concrete coatings industry for more than 40 years.
And I was drawn 6 months ago by an artist in New Jersey.
Why is that even relevant?
Well, you said 40 years experience, so I had to give them something.
Over the years, we've worked closely with major manufacturers to develop a multi-layer application process that creates beautiful, durable, and long-lasting floors.
So even decades from now, your garage floor will look as gorgeous as it did the day it was installed.
Experience?
Check. Durable?
Check. Decades of experience making garage floors gorgeous? Checkmate.
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit checkmatecoatings.com. That's checkmatecoatings.com.
Hey, I'm Steffi. You may know me from your social feed. I go big for the holidays, so I'm going to Famous Footwear because the best gifts are giving famous. My friends and family are gonna love all these styles from Nike, Adidas, Crocs, New Balance, Skechers, and more. With over 800 stores, you're never far from the perfect gift. So make your list and make it famous. Come in today for buy one pair, get one half off at your local Famous Footwear or famous.com. Some exclusions apply.
This is the home of the Florida Gators. Get your Gators hoops on 1010XL. Brought to you by the personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah, Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville, and Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
I used to dread going to the dentist. Every visit felt like a sales pitch with constant upselling, surprise fees on my bill, and I could never get in when I needed to. But Harbor Dental Care, totally different. They saw me the next day, gave me honest pricing up front, and even set me up with a payment plan I could actually afford. No pressure, no surprise charges, just kind people who get it. If you want to experience dentistry the way it should be, book your appointment today at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Hey, so why don't we tee off?
Tee it high and let it fly.
He's got a beautiful backswing.
Oh, he got all of that one.
Tour news, local updates, and the latest gear. Cut a few strokes off your game Saturday mornings at 10 with the Edwin Watts Golf Hour on 1010XL.
The holidays are just around the corner, and so is your entire family.
Babe, the toilet's growling at me again.
Uh-oh, the kitchen sink just turned into Old Faithful. There's no hot water!
Don't let plumbing chaos steal your holiday cheer. Call Duck Duck Rooter today to fix those issues before Aunt Linda blames you for ruining Christmas dinner. Duck Duck Rooter, your local plumbing pros. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. DuckDuckRooter.com.
Ho, ho, ho! When I need gifts for special people, I go to Tobacco Cove at 3849 Bay Meadows Road. They have everything you need to make Christmas as special as they are. Find the finest in limited cigars, pipes and pipe tobacco, and the accessories that make life easier like humidors, cutters, and lighters. And don't forget Lampe Bergère fragrance lamps. So, take my advice and go to Tobacco Cove, 3849 Bay Meadows Road, and make this Christmas one they'll remember.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Jaguars and the Jets, Sunday, 1 o'clock. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. The Jaguars now 9-4 on the year, in sole possession of first place in the AFC South, but there is no rest for the Jaguars as both Houston and Indianapolis sit only a game back at 8-5. Let's recap the big win over Indy. Let's preview the Jets a little bit as well with my buddy Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. Jamal, have you dried out after yesterday?
I'm still trying to get there, Hacker. Yeah, I got soaked. Yeah, that rain was ridiculous all kind of day. I think I'm finally dry, maybe.
Well, look, I mean, the good folks, the weather folks over at Channel 4, they kind of alerted everybody to what was going to happen. And the Jaguars, I mean, I was surprised, Jamal. I'm curious your thoughts. Maybe their most effective downfield passing game of the year came in essentially a monsoon. I mean, with what Brian Thomas Jr. did, Tim Patrick, Jacoby Myers as well, really opening up the passing game despite those weather conditions.
Yeah, look, they really did a good job. I mean, generally in the rain, you say, oh, run the football. But, I mean, that was probably the most effective passing day. Liam Cohen said after the game that the team's growing in confidence, but he also made it a point to say the quarterback is growing in confidence. And you know what? You can see it. And I know a lot of people were a little impatient with Trevor early in the year. I mean, we've talked about it, him needing to be better and needing to get there. But there was also a need to kind of express patience because it took this offense some time to click with Baker Mayfield there in Tampa Bay. And I think we're finally starting to see it click with Trevor Lawrence, where the pieces are all starting to fall in place. He's feeling better. He put that wristband on, and I don't know. I mean, some sort of superpowers come from him since then because he's been off and rolling. But I think it also helps that his wide receivers are healthy and off and rolling. And I mean, you got Jacoby Myers that he knows he can depend on. Brian Thomas Jr. looked like the BTJ from his rookie season out there against the Colts. And then you got Tim Patrick out there making plays. So look, the passing game was working, but it's also been working for the past few weeks when they've needed it to. So I think it's just finally all kind of starting to come to life.
Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. Brian Thomas Jr. was a big player yesterday. But you mentioned Tim Patrick and Jacoby Myers, and that's James Gladstone. I mean, look, I love Liam Cohen, and we'll get to him in a moment. But I want to tip the cap to James Gladstone again because the big part of the passing game yesterday was two guys that were not even here when training camp started. The trades for Tim Patrick and Jacoby Myers both appear to be very, very good, if not home run trades for James Gladstone.
Oh, yeah, look, the general manager has done his part on this team. His fingerprints are all over it. I mean, look, I want to give a shout. Those guys have done their part because a lot of these front offices in the NFL, they go into the season and, oh, this is what we got, and we want to see the young guys play or do this and do that. Look, he noticed the problem and went and found solutions. Traded for Tim Patrick, traded for Jacoby Myers, and both of those have worked and have played vital roles in the Jaguars' offense this season. I mean, but so have a lot of the acquisitions that Gladstone made during the offseason. I mean, look at Eric Murray. Eric Murray back in the lineup. He goes out there, forces one fumble on Jonathan Taylor, and then tips another pass that, I mean, possibly could have been an interception or possibly could have been a touchdown. Who knows? Whatever. He made the play. So Eric Murray was out there making some plays for that defense again, which is what he was doing before he got hurt. So James Gladstone's made some really savvy moves to improve this football team that you can say, like, without some of these guys, they wouldn't be where they're at right now.
I'll tell you this, too. Again, Greg Newsome, probably his best game as a Jaguar. That was another trade that James Gladstone made. You mentioned Trevor. All of a sudden now, 18 touchdowns, 11 picks. His completion percentage is starting to rise. It's not the year that everybody wanted, but it's becoming the last couple of weeks that everybody wanted. Jamal, I think the last 8 quarters, Tennessee last week, Indianapolis yesterday, probably the 2 best games Trevor Lawrence has played this year.
Look, I've never really cared what the people that hate Trevor had to say because if you've watched him, like I've seen every throw that Trevor's made in his NFL career covering this team. The guy has all the talent in the world, and when the light comes on, the light is on. The problem is it's like a light switch where sometimes it's on, sometimes it's off. But when he's been hot, he gets hot. So this team is dangerous because it looks like this is almost reminiscent to that 2022 season where we saw Trevor get hot at the end of the season, and he carried it all the way through until they came up just short in Kansas City. If that's the case, then this is going to be a tough team to beat. The only thing with Trevor, like I said, can he sustain? Can he sustain? Because it's always been flickers here or there where you see him get hot and you see it and you say, oh, this is it. The light's finally on. And then it goes off for a couple of games.
One thing that I really enjoyed seeing, and look, I don't want to see injuries. Nobody does. But we cover the Jaguars. From a Jaguar point of view, we saw in week 2, Joe Burrow got hurt. Jake Browning came in, and we all remember what happened. And yesterday, when Daniel Jones goes out, Look, Davis Mills has beat the Jaguars. We mentioned Jake Browning has beat the Jaguars. For the Jaguars to keep their foot on the gas pedal and not give Indy a shot with Riley Leonard, I thought showed some maturity, some growth with this football team.
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the other thing is those other backup quarterbacks you mentioned are veteran backups who've seen the league, know a little bit more. I mean, this guy's a rookie who probably never was supposed to be playing this season. He went into the year as their third-string quarterback, but the injury to Daniel Jones, the injury to Anthony Richardson forced him into action. I mean, that game was all but over the second that Daniel Jones had to leave it with that injury, which is tough. I mean, he was having a fantastic season. He's in a contract year. Obviously, this will impact his free agency. So that is a tough blow for Daniel Jones personally, not just that Colts team. So you hate that for that guy. But, I mean, it was a great opportunity for Riley Leonard, and it looks like he's going to get some opportunities the rest of the way to show if he can play. But I don't know that he's some highly touted, high-level backup in the NFL that I'm necessarily scared of. But I get the sentiment where you're like, look, don't let off the gas. Go take care of business and try and give this rookie fits, which it's almost like they went back to a similar game plan to what they had against Cam Ward and the Titans. Show him something, make him think, and make him try and think too much.
The streak is real. I mean, it's an anomaly, but the fact that Indianapolis still has not won here since 2014. I can tell you, watching Indy sports radio podcast from last night and this morning, that's all they're really talking about outside the Daniel Jones injury is the fact they just simply cannot win in Jacksonville. Jamal, it's weird at this point, right?
It's been weird, Hacker. I mean, think about it. 2020, you win one game, it's Indy and Jacksonville. 2021, you're a lost season. You're just trying to get to the offseason. Indy just needs to come in, walk out with a win. They go in the playoffs. Jaguars send them home. No postseason for them. So, yeah, it's been weird, especially with the struggles the Jaguars have had over the 11 last seasons. And somehow, some way, Indianapolis comes here and they just forget how to play football. Look, I don't hate it. It's great. Sports have anomalies like that. There's just weird stuff that happens, but this has got to be one of the weirder ones. I don't know what it is. I really don't. I don't know if it's in the water. It's something in the grass. It's like Jonathan Taylor runs crazy everywhere else in the league, comes to Jacksonville, gets stuck in the mud. Look, it works for the Jaguars. It does. You know what? At the end of the day, it's nice to have at least one team in the division that you can say, well, they're not coming to Jacksonville to win.
Couple of more for Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. I want to get to the Jets in a moment. Yesterday in the postgame, I know you were there. Liam Cohen made reference to this. Travis Etienne made reference to this. Jamal, that Houston fourth quarter still bothers them. They've won 4 in a row, and by the way, the 4 wins in a row, they have destroyed 3 of those opponents, the Chargers, the Titans, and the Colts. But they're still talking about that fourth quarter in Houston. And I remember when that happened, like I was in a fog for the 5th quarter that evening. I was like, oh my gosh, what just transpired? And I remember thinking maybe this will be good in the long run, but I really didn't harp on that because it sucked so bad at the time. But now a month later, my goodness, man. I mean, obviously that is still fuel they are using because even after 4 wins in a row, they are still referencing back to that fourth quarter in Houston.
Well, you have to. I mean, it was a colossal collapse. But on top of that, you let Houston back in the door. So the Texans are looking right over their shoulder. They don't have any room to slow down. Even if the Colts are sliding off here, the Texans are surging. And that fourth quarter is what gave them life. If you win that game, you have more breathing room. You have control of this division complete. Right now, mathematically, you don't even completely control the division. So they basically have to keep winning. And Liam Cohen will say, I don't look at the big picture. I don't know all. Somebody's telling him. He might not go look it up himself. He knows. The Texans are right behind them in the standings. That fourth quarter gave them life. It's one of those things where when you have an opportunity to put your opponent out of his misery, you got to do it. And they didn't do it. They didn't put the nail in the coffin. And now it might come back to haunt them later on in the season, maybe later on in the postseason. We'll see. But yeah, look, that fourth quarter is going to linger for a while. It stings. I mean, it's the largest blown lead in franchise history. Nobody wants their name next to that.
You know, I totally agree with what you're saying, but in also saying that, it gave the Texans life. Jamal, in a weird sort of way, might have given the Jaguars life because this Jaguar football team has been different in the last 4 weeks after that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, you're right from that standpoint. I mean, this team plays with their chip on their shoulder. They like to be doubted. I mean, you don't have to listen to anybody but Liam Cohen and some of the players. I mean, even in the locker room, people made comment. We were doing interviews, and this team didn't seem happy that they won. They seemed like they were unsatisfied. They expected to go out there and take care of business. That has been the attitude of this team where, like even Josh Hines Allen said about, somebody asked him about the people that still doubt this football team. He said, we'll see them in the Super Bowl. This team thrives off being doubted. This team thrives on being slept on, that the national media is not going to acknowledge them no matter what they do. They thrive on that. And that game, more than anything else, turned up the sound, turned up the volume on all of that noise of this team not being good. It cranked it up to 11. And that gave them the fuel to the fire.
Final moments, Jamal St. Cyr of Channel 4. All right, let's be honest. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Jets are awful.
Yes.
The Jaguars are a double-digit favorite. And now here we go. The Jaguars did do this with the Titans 2 weeks ago. There was some concern. It was Thanksgiving week. You're playing a bad team. And the Jaguars went out there, and by the end of the first quarter, it was very apparent the Jaguars were going to have an easy time of it. You would expect that to happen again, although, I mean, we saw New Orleans go into Tampa yesterday and beat the Buccaneers, which is a terrible loss for Tampa. It is the NFL. Anything can happen. It's going to be interesting to see if the Jaguars, who are such an overwhelming favorite on Sunday, can come out at home and take care of business against a Jets team that looks like they're about ready for vacation.
New Orleans and Tampa's a divisional game. I'd still be more concerned about the Titans at the end of the season than the Jets this week. Look, you got to take care of business. One way or another, you've got to go out there and you've got to take care of business this week and next week. Because, like I said, the Texans are breathing down their necks. And mathematically, if you drop one game and end up tied with the Texans, then it starts coming down to common opponents, which means you got to beat the Jets and you got to beat the Broncos. Just win it out so that way you don't have to get into these mathematical scenarios of, oh, well, this team beat this team. You don't want to go to tiebreakers with this. Just take care of business. So every game is colossally important. Tony Boselli loves to say it's the most important game in franchise history. Well, the rest of the way out, you could probably make a pretty solid argument because if they keep winning, there's a pretty good shot they'll at least be the 2 seed.
Jaguars, Jets, Sunday, 1 o'clock. You'll hear it right here on 1010XL. And Jamal, look, I know you guys will have a ton of coverage about the Jaguars and the Jets on Sunday. Tell us about Teal the Show. And also, I would imagine you guys will have high school state championship coverage as well with both Reigns and Bowles competing for state championships this week.
Oh, yeah, buddy. We got 2 championship games this week. Yeah, Monday and Friday night. We got you covered. Teal the Show over on Channel 4 at 11:20. Come hang out with us there. But, yeah, high school state championship games. Look, man, I love this. Hopefully we can go 2 for 2 for this thing. Bowles is on Wednesday. Reigns is on Friday. I will have highlights from both of those games. Look, this is fun. This is it. There's 2 teams left standing, and hopefully we can bring back 2 trophies to Jacksonville.
It's a busy time of year, no question about it. Jamal St. Cyr. Jamal, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. I'll see you down there in the Jaguar locker room on Wednesday.
All right, see you, Hacker.
Your home for Florida Gators basketball is 1010XL.
After a 1-point loss to number 4 Duke, it's another top 5 Blue Blood. Florida, UConn, Tuesday at 8:30 on 1010 AM.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, Jason, I'm worried.
You? Really? About what?
Well, I like to have a little seasonal potluck. Invite some friends and neighbors and guys from the office. But if the food gets spicy and the party gets rocking and that old toilet in the 2-piece can't handle the traffic, well, what if my drain backs up right in the middle of everything?
Dude, imagine you're wearing my sunglasses.
Okay. Shoomp. Whoa.
If you're planning to host a holiday party and a blocked household drain line threatens to ruin the whole thing, call us and tell us. The drain clearing experts at Bueller Aaron Plumbing will unclog your drain for free.
You do that for free?
It's Christmas.
Yeah, but For free?
The holidays can get pretty hectic. If a clogged drain line threatens to ruin the whole thing, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and this Christmas, Leonard Truck Outfitters and 1010XL are helping you deck the truck. Stop by either Leonard location, Landing Boulevard or Beach Boulevard, and register to win a deck bed storage system with Cargo Glide installed by the pros at Leonard. Another winner will score 2 tickets to the Florida-Georgia basketball game January 6th and a 2025 Gator Championship commemorative basketball. We'll draw the winners live Friday, December 19 during XL Primetime, noon to 2 at Leonard's Beach Boulevard. Leonard Truck Outfitters, everything you need for a great-looking, great-performing truck.
Post-game Monday on 1010XL is served up by Dandy Foods, making quality fresh sandwiches since 1956.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org, and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
Hey, First Coast, it's your boy Leon Cersei, your lemon pepper guy. Back and better than ever for Wingstop. You know I can't resist those crispy, flavorful wings that make your taste buds dance. Wingstop just opened a hot new spot on Jeremiah Street in Middleburg. There's 17 locations now serving up the most mouth-watering wings in town. And my all-time favorite, lemon pepper. Try their new quick and easy ordering on the app and swing by today for fresh, hot wings made for you. Only at Wingstop.
Your home deserves more than just another coat of paint. It deserves quality that lasts. At First Coast Paint, you'll find premium Benjamin Moore products, trusted advice, and the local experts who help you get it right the first time. Whether it's your living room, your porch, or your whole house, First Coast Paint brings your paint project to life. Stores in St. John's and St. Augustine. One name Jacksonville Trust. Mention 1010XL for 10% off. First Coast Paint. Simply superior paint.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, the Florida Gators have a brand new coach, a couple of new coordinators, and that brand new head coach is now on his way to the college football playoff, still coaching Tulane. So we'll explain all that. We'll talk about all of that. And the Florida Gator basketball team is back on the court tomorrow. Boy, looking for a victory at this point after a 5-3 start to the year. Let's discuss it with Graham Hall. 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247 is where you see Graham's work, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Graham, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. It's an exciting week, absolutely. I'm actually heading up to Madison Square Garden tomorrow to cover Florida basketball against UConn. My first time being up there. I'm really looking forward to what's going to be a really exciting game. And there's certainly a lot of excitement here in Gainesville with Florida hiring John Summerall. You know, admittedly, and we had talked about this, everyone had their eggs in the basket. For Lane Kiffin, some of the stuff that has come out about him afterwards, just the way things ended in Oxford, maybe have made that a little bit easier to stomach. And I had said to people pretty immediately after the hiring of John Summerall that he was going to win the press conference and win a lot of people over with his demeanor, what he said. And obviously, you got to go out there and prove it on the field. But I think a lot more people are in the Summerall camp than they were a couple of weeks ago. And the hirings that he's made at both coordinator positions, I think, has reinforced that notion.
Graham, I completely agree with that. I thought Summerall last week, that was a home run press conference that he had under the circumstances. And let's go to a couple of things that he's done as the brand new Florida head coach, including Buster Faulkner from Georgia Tech, the new offensive coordinator at the University of Florida. Boy, I'll tell you, man, I was a Brent Key guy for a lot of this process, and I was told by anybody in Atlanta, yeah, Brent Key's fine as long as he brings Buster Faulkner with him. Faulkner gets an awful lot of credit for what Georgia Tech was able to do, and that on the surface appears to be a very good hire by John Summerall.
Yeah, I'll go back even a step farther. The work that he did as an analyst in Athens working with Georgia when they won a pair of national championships, the work that he did with Stetson Bennett, tailoring the offense around the skill set of not just the quarterback, but the guys that they had at the skill positions. was really impressive and led him to that job at Georgia Tech as offensive coordinator. And he really got the most out of Haynes King this year in Atlanta, tailored the offense around a guy who isn't the most, dominant passer, more well regarded as a runner, but really was able to get him to be really effective this year and lead Georgia Tech to that 9-3 finish. I know that it didn't end well for them, falling 16-9 to Georgia, losing that rivalry game where they couldn't find the end zone. But you look at the work that he did throughout the season, it was really impressive. And John Summerall had laid the groundwork for hiring him. I heard that if Summerall was to wind up at whether it was Ole Miss or Auburn or Kentucky, that he looked to bring Faulkner with him. So a lot of this was done behind the scenes. And I don't want to say Florida thought that they were getting a quote unquote package deal, but having a coach, hiring one who has already established relationships and identified who they would want in a coordinator moving into a Power 4 job is certainly an appeal, because you look at just how Faulkner has been regarded with the number 12 offense at Georgia Tech this year, programs such as Georgia and Auburn and Kentucky, his alma mater, looking at him and saying that, Summerall would have been a key addition for them. And then getting Faulkner on top of that is kind of the cherry on top. Now, I don't want to cause any panic whatsoever, but this is one of those things in college football where let's wait until it's finally announced, and the University of Florida has yet to announce Buster Faulkner as the hire. We've reported that it's expected to happen. Once that has happened and it has been officially announced, I think Florida fans can breathe a sigh of relief and start getting excited at what Florida has added in an offensive coordinator. And let me just say that adding an offensive coordinator right off the jump and prioritizing from a messaging standpoint the offensive coordinator position is a quick way to appeal to Florida fans. You saw in that statement that Summerall released where he said that having an explosive offense at Florida is mandatory, and having someone who understands that is pivotal to easing some of the concerns from the fan base and hiring another, group of 5 coach out of Louisiana. And I think it also is an acknowledgement that the previous regime did not do that. You understood that Billy Napier, when he arrived for his introductory press conference, he said that I'm going to call plays because I thought it was going to give us the best chance to do that. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition, and now you have a new head coach in Gainesville who understands that he is not going to be calling the offensive plays for Florida's best interest.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247 down in Gainesville. Obviously, the offensive coordinator hire was going to be huge because Summerall is a defensive guy. But as a defensive coordinator, he went and got a guy he's very familiar with in Brad White from Kentucky. Now, I don't know much about Brad White. I'll be the first to admit that. But what I do know is that other SEC jobs and other SEC markets for people that I know out there, Brad White was a name that was being talked about as potential defensive coordinator options, with the new Auburn coach, with certainly Lane Kiffin potentially at Ole Miss if Baker would have left. So certainly Brad White appears to be a guy that was in demand, and Florida has announced that hire as the new DC.
Yeah, I think he did more with less in Lexington. He had 4 top 25 defenses at a place that historically, and I've talked about this a lot, is very difficult to recruit because you're not just being up in Kentucky going against the other 15 SEC schools, but you're in the backyard of Big Ten programs such as Ohio State, Michigan. It really caused Kentucky to have to evaluate early, build relationships, and try and hang on to some of the top players. And you look at some of the defensive players that have come out of Kentucky since White had been there, a lot of guys who were in the NFL, some who have been in Jacksonville. You look at just what he was able to do. Like I said, did more with less, and now he goes to a place where he has more resources, has a very strong recruiting area that he can land defensive players at. And I think it's someone also who has a really good defensive scheme and familiarity with the head coach. So I think it's a wise hire for Florida. It didn't cause the excitement level that Faulkner did upon the initial announcement. But I think once you look into how he fared at Kentucky, obviously this year didn't go according to plan for the Wildcats, but you look at what he was able to do there, I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the hiring and that Florida's going to have a little bit more of a traditional NFL-esque defense than the one that you've seen under Ron Roberts in recent years. So I think there's a lot of appealing aspects about it. And having someone that has worked in the SEC knows what it takes, no disrespect to the previous staff, because I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but you saw a lot of guys come over in Billy Napier's staff who were unfamiliar with what it took to win and recruit in the SEC. And obviously it wasn't a complete failure. Florida signed a lot of really good classes, and there's a lot of young players on Florida's roster that they're going to try and keep. But you get a coordinator now who understands what it takes to be in the SEC, and I think that is one of the most appealing aspects of hiring Brad White as defensive coordinator.
Graham, we got to go quick because I want to get to basketball, but the fact that Florida and Sumrall agreed to the fact that Sumrall was going to coach Tulane as long as they're going to go, I commend Florida for doing that. Obviously, it could have gone sour, and you want Sumrall to assume the reins here as quickly as possible, but obviously it was very important for him, and the fact that Tulane won their conference championship game, is in the college football playoff, playing Ole Miss in a couple of weeks, I think is a really interesting story. How is it being looked at in Gainesville, Sumrall, in this college football playoff berth?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement because you have a chance to immediately see how the head coach is going to fare and look at him in a competitive setting. Anyone who watched that game on Friday against North Texas saw a fiery guy who was energized, even though he didn't have much sleep and was kind of working, double duty both in Gainesville and in New Orleans. This is someone who went against the North Texas team without, I'm not going to say he wasn't fully locked in on that, but he was splitting his roles. And there was a lot of people who looked at North Texas's offense and said that they're the number one offense in college football, that they were going to beat this Tulane team and punch their ticket to the college football playoff. And I don't think any Florida fans could have blamed John Sumrall or Tulane for kind of rolling over in that game. Even with the college football playoff on the line, there were probably some people at Florida who were hopeful that a Tulane loss could have led to Sumrall getting to Gainesville earlier and having more of a chance to start retaining players, adding players, building relationships, building out his staff. But now you have a chance for Florida fans. It's not like rooting for the orange and blue, of course, but they're going to be invested in the college football playoff. I mean, they're going to have a chance to watch John Sumrall go up to Oxford, Mississippi next weekend and go against an Ole Miss team that has a reconstructed coaching staff. Yeah, they retained a lot of coaches there, and Pete Golding is a really, really good coordinator, now head coach up there with the Rebels. But they're going to look to avenge that game and potentially secure a meeting with Georgia, which would be a home matchup with Tulane if they can get that. So this is certainly a really interesting situation here. It's unique. They're not the only team that's dealing with that. Bob Chesney at James Madison, where ironically enough, Billy Napier is now taking over as head coach after the Duke's season is over. They're another team in the college football playoff dealing with that. A lot of people have compared Florida letting John Sumrall coach through to kind of the ultimatum in a sense that Ole Miss gave Lane Kiffin. Let me just say, and this is no disrespect to Tulane, Ole Miss and Tulane are different situations. Ole Miss is always about trying to show that they are in the top pecking order of the SEC, even though they historically have kind of been overlooked in a sense here. They're trying to send a message that this is not a place where you can leave and we're going to allow you to keep coaching for our reputation. So it's kudos to Florida for allowing to do it. I think it's great for both parties, for Sumrall, for Florida also. And I will say real quick that part of this is, not many people want to give credit to Scott Strickland, and I understand that. I'm not coming to bat here necessarily or trying to change anyone's mind, but Florida conducted a separate search amid their head coaching search for a general manager. They hired Dave Caldwell, a very familiar name, which I know has a little bit of an interesting reputation up there in Jacksonville. But conducting that search appeases any of the concerns that people could have about roster building, managing NIL, player agent relations, whatever you want to call it, because they have a general manager in the building right now who can handle all those things, even though John Sumrall is focused on leading Tulane in the college football playoff.
Final moments, Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham, we got 2 minutes. You mentioned you're going to Madison Square Garden for the UConn game. Florida 5-3, lost a heartbreaker to Duke. I guess if you want to spin that to a glass half full perspective, Boogie Flan really came on in the second half at Cameron Indoor. Xavier Lee has been bad, with the exception of the Providence game. I don't know how else to say that. And I think, look, the front court's good. Life without Walter Clayton, Will Richard, and Elijah Martin. The reality is you just can't replace 3 NBA players, and Florida's certainly off to a slow start here in 2025.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people realize that this year was not going to be the dominant start that many were hoping for the reigning national champions. You look at how they opened the season, going to Las Vegas against Arizona, taking on TCU and Providence, taking on a really good Miami team up there in Jacksonville, and now facing Duke and UConn. I mean, Duke may be the best team in the country right now. Purdue suffered a huge defeat the other day, and Duke went in to Michigan State and got a big victory where they closed it out down the stretch. They're an undefeated team with a really, really good freshman in Cam Boozer. Give John Shire credit for what he has done there. Florida, from a glass half full perspective, played really well over the final 20 minutes. They were in a 15-point hole, but then played some of their best defense. Really, you're starting to see Boogie Flan get more comfortable. Boogie is still a very young guy. He technically, in my opinion, is still a freshman. He played, a little over half of his freshman season at Arkansas. He's 19 years old. He's going to need some time to continue acclimating to this level of competition, but you see a really strong skill set. He's got a great mid-range game. He organizes the offense well. He's fantastic on the defensive end, is active in passing lanes. He just is really, really a quality player who is just a young player. And so give him some time, everyone. Xavier Lee obviously is not playing at the level many people expected. Certainly Florida's coaching staff expected him to be a little more explosive offensively. He just needs to see the ball go through the net a couple of times. You don't want him to lose his confidence. You want him to keep attacking. You want him to continue letting it fly. Even if he goes 1 for 10, they don't want him the next game to be scared. That is, in terms of a long-term impact, what you don't want to see. So as long as he starts hitting shots by SEC play, in my opinion, Florida is going to be just fine. They can build off the 20 minutes that they had in Durham the other night. And if they can beat this UConn team, a really, really good UConn team sitting at 8-1, one of the top 5 teams in the country right now, they're going to get a quality quadrant 1 win under their belt. And then you look at the rest of non-conference play, just looking ahead a little bit, George Washington is probably going to be a quadrant 2 game. And then you have 3, I hate to call them cupcakes or bye games, whatever you want to call it, but some games that Florida really has an easy chance of winning against St. Francis, Colgate, and Dartmouth. So if they can build some momentum here, maybe win 4 or 5 games here to end out non-conference play, they're going to go into the new year against Missouri to start SEC play with a lot of momentum. And as long as they figure some things out and have a little more shots fall from long range, this Florida team's going to be just fine and no one's going to be panicking.
Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247. Graham, tell the Gator fans over here in Jacksonville the coverage you guys will have about the coaching hire, the staff that's being assembled, also Gator basketball over there at Swamp 247.
Yeah, a ton of content over at Swamp 247. We'll be tracking the rest of the coaching hires, the transfer portal moves, who Florida is targeting, any more recruiting news happening after early signing day. Florida added 19 players last week on early signing day, but there's the other signing window in the first week of February, so we'll continue to track that as well. Like I said, I'll be up in Madison Square Garden tomorrow. Got a little bit of a crazy travel. I'll be flying in the day of the game, and then I'll be flying out at 5:45 a.m. from New York City. No hotel for me, so looking forward to that. I'll be writing a Boogie Flan feature later today and a UConn preview, so a ton of content over at Swamp 247. We got podcasts, the largest message board community in the Florida Gators fan base, so join today for 50% off for the rest of the month, and we got to do this again soon, man. There's never a shortage of topics to talk about here concerning the Florida Gators.
Graham, I know you're busy, man. Safe travels. Thank you for the time, and we'll talk soon, pal.
Thanks, man. Pleasure's always mine. Y'all take care up there.
And thank you to Graham Hall, 24/7 Sports, Swamp 247, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark to take a look at, obviously, the John Summerall hire down in Gainesville. Hard to believe it's been a week since that was announced and the press conference took place. Of course, Summerall leads Tulane to an American Conference championship last Friday, and Tulane's in the college football playoff. And Summerall will be coaching them, the Florida Gators head coach, still on the Tulane sideline, as he will be coaching the Green Wave in the college football playoff coming up next weekend, or I guess, what are we talking about, 11, 12 days from now, against Ole Miss in Oxford in the college football playoff. Some of the hires have begun to come out as far as some coordinator hires that Summerall has made in Gainesville, so we certainly spent some time on that. And then Gator basketball tomorrow night up at Madison Square Garden. They take on UConn. Obviously, it was a disappointing loss last week to Duke. Gators haven't played in a week. It'll be exactly a week between the Duke game and the UConn game. Florida 5-3 on the year as they take on UConn tomorrow night, and hopefully getting back on the winning track. After UConn, they have what you would consider to be 4 winnable games, or the games they should win leading into conference play. So you would certainly like to get UConn after you've already lost to Arizona and Duke here in the non-conference. So we spent some time on that. but an overwhelming majority of tonight, as you can imagine, was on the Jacksonville Jaguars and the big win yesterday over Indianapolis. The Jaguars now 9-4 on the year, in first place all by themselves in the AFC South. And, of course, they have a big one coming up in a couple of weeks against Denver. They got game against Indianapolis coming up in Indy. Obviously, no Daniel Jones anymore. And then 2 home games remaining. The season finale against Tennessee and the game coming up this Sunday against the New York Jets. On paper, and again, it's scary to do this, just ask Tampa Bay about the New Orleans game yesterday. On paper, the 2 home games are against 2 of the arguably 3 or 4 worst teams in the NFL, the Jets and the Titans. You play Indianapolis now, who's not going to have Daniel Jones, and then you play Denver. So 4 games left. You would think Jacksonville will be big favorites in 3 of those 4, and then a big game coming up against Denver. But again, as Tony Baselli will tell you all week, I'm sure nothing else matters except this New York Jet game that comes up on